There's a man in the woods. What a spectacle. Before the story started, the school was still respectable. My students used to skip down the hill to the honeysuckle, pluck a couple, and collect the nectar till they picked their fill. Except the one obnoxious kid, Sid, who just watched them eat the flowers while they seethed and scowled, because he couldn't bear to share the sweet treats through our recess hour. I remember Sid saying, "There's a man in the woods!" And that's how the rumors began. Of course, Sid had spotted him first. The poor kids. He got him immersed in this spiel about a serial killer whose gun barrel glint hints at peril, a visit to the nurse, or worse, a hearse, just waiting beyond the dell. The children saw him everywhere. "Look, over there! That man, he had Batman ears! We swear! And crazy yellow eyes! We saw something rusty! His shotgun, it must be! I saw a lady sever thigh!" Trust me, every word I heard was absurd. Yet each day, Sid would stray down past the playground. Who else would be brave enough to save us from the killer's next plot? The rest of the lot would step back at the blacktop, sure at any closer they were bound to be found, deep in the woods, left to rot. I pleaded for these kids to think and learn to be mature, but after a few more rumors doomed my attempts to prove the school was secure, their fear was undeterred. And when the buses drove them all home, the parents finally heard. Everything just blew up. I received a wall of emails and calls, full of shrieks, wails, and all, from terrified families who heard word of a murderer and didn't like my lack of action at all. What was I supposed to do? Comb the whole forest? Yeah, right, would you? I mean, I didn't care. That's not fair. The stories that worried you weren't true. Of course, I would feel regret had there been a real threat, and I ignored it for some poor kid got kidnapped while the other kids were napping. But you couldn't admit that your good little kid would formulate a fib, so you ignored what I said. Your little angels could never cook up such incredible creations? An overreactive imagination? Maybe, but my kid could never lie. How dare I? Accuse a child of being dishonest. Just monstrous. The parents were displeased, and when the PTA took action, they dismissed me from the classroom, like they knew what was best for the kids. Do you know how difficult it is to get a job? When a bitter mom slanders your rep with child neglect from the outset, now who's in the control of the classes? Single file line, single file line. Little vile swines, the killer by the pines. Really? Are you blind? Will you find their spine? Sid, a child decides to fill our minds with lies, and the next you see is people treating me like I've committed crimes? I was in my prime! Those kids were lucky to have me! Do you see what you did? But I can play along. I can be good. Do you hear that, Sid? There's a man in the woods.